You grow up on a military base in Virginia. Not the scenic part. The part with chain link fences and buildings that look like they were designed by someone who hated color. Your father is an Army intelligence officer, third generation. His father served. His grandfather served. The family doesn't have a crest. It has a clearance level. Your mother teaches English at the base school. She reads poetry at the dinner table. Your father eats in silence while she reads.
He doesn't dislike it.
He just lives in a world where words are tools, not art. You grow up between those two people. A man who sees language as a weapon and a woman who sees it as a window. You inherit both. That combination will make you very valuable to certain people and very dangerous to others. You're smart, dangerously smart. The kind of smart that makes teachers uncomfortable because you ask questions they don't have answers for. You read your father's copy of Sun Tzu at 12, not because he gave it to you, because it was on his shelf, and his shelf was the only interesting thing in the house. You read it twice. Then you read Machiavelli, then Clausewitz. By 14, you understand that every conflict in human history runs on the same operating system: information, leverage,
And the willingness to act before the other side understands what's happening.
You read a paper about it for 9th grade history class. Your teacher gives you a B+, says it's well written, but cynical for your age. You learn that being right and being rewarded are two different things. That lesson will save your life one day. You apply to Georgetown. Get in. International relations. Your father drives you to campus, doesn't carry your boxes, shakes your hand in the parking lot, says one thing: don't trust anyone who tells you the system is fair. Use it anyway. He drives away. You stand in the parking lot, holding a duffel bag and the best piece of advice anyone will ever give you.
Before we continue, if you like these kinds of stories, please subscribe because it really means a lot to me.
College is where the agency finds you. They don't knock on your door. That's not how it works. A professor named Dr. Calloway teaches your foreign policy seminar. He's brilliant, published, connected. He takes an interest in your work, invites you to a discussion group. Thursday evenings, 6 students, a conference room in the basement of a building you've never noticed. The discussions are sharp: geopolitics, intelligence theory, ethical boundaries of state power.
You realize by the third meeting that this isn't a study group. It's an audition.
Calloway is watching how you think, not what you think, how. Whether you can hold two contradictory ideas and still function. Whether you can argue a position you don't believe. Whether you can lie with your face while telling the truth with your data. You've been doing it your whole life. Living between a poet and a spy teaches you that. A woman named Sullivan approaches you after graduation. Gray suit, no jewelry, handshake like a contract. She says she's with the government, doesn't specify which part. Says your profile is interesting. Says there's a program, training, languages, fieldwork. She says the pay is modest, but the work is meaningful. She says meaningful the way your father said it, like a word that carries a classified weight. You say yes, not because you believe in the mission, because you believe in the game. And this is the biggest game there is.
The farm. Camp Perry. 18 months.
They teach you to shoot, but that's the least of it. They teach you to build a cover identity the way an architect builds a building. Foundation first, backstory, employment history, family details, emotional texture. A good cover isn't a mask, it's a second skeleton. They teach you to recruit assets, find the vulnerability, money, ideology, compromise, ego. The 4 doors. Every person on Earth has at least one unlocked. They teach you to lie in 4 languages.
Fluent lies.
The kind that pass polygraphs because you've been trained to believe them temporarily. To partition your mind into rooms and lock the doors between them. You're good at this, better than good. The instructors write things in your file that you're not allowed to read. They're good things because Sullivan calls you personally after graduation. Says you're being assigned to the Middle East desk. Beirut. She says it like she's giving you a gift. She is.
Beirut is where you learn what the game actually costs.
Your job is recruiting informants inside Hezbollah's financial network. You spend 8 months becoming someone named Marc Dufresne, French-Lebanese businessman. Import-export. You grow a beard. You learn to smoke jetons. You sit in cafes on Hamra Street, drinking coffee so thick it coats the cup. And you wait. Patience isn't a skill in this work. It's the work. You identify a target, a mid-level accountant in Hezbollah's social services wing.
He has a gambling problem.
owes money to the wrong people. Door number 1, money. You approach him at a card game, lose to him deliberately, buy him drinks. Over 3 months, you become his friend, his confidant, the man who understands his problems. On the 4th month, you offer a solution, a payment, in exchange for numbers, just numbers, account routing, transfer schedules, nothing that would get anyone killed. You say this, looking into his eyes, with the same face you've worn since you were a kid, watching rooms and reading handshakes. He says yes. The numbers lead to a network worth $80 million in annual funding. Langley is pleased. Sullivan calls, says, good work. 2 words that carry the weight of a career. You run 6 assets in 3 years, each one a relationship built on a lie so complete it becomes a kind of truth. You eat dinner at their homes. You meet their children. A man named Hassan introduces you to his mother. She makes you kibbeh and calls you habibi, dear. She pats your cheek. Her hands are soft and old, and she has no idea that the man she's touching is cataloging every word her son says and transmitting it to a building in Virginia. You eat the kibbeh. It's the best thing you've ever tasted. You file the report that night. The kibbeh and the report exist in 2 different rooms in your head, and the door between them is locked, and the lock is the only thing keeping you functional. You get promoted to Langley, desk role, analytical. You brief directors, write assessments, attend meetings in rooms that don't appear on building maps. You see patterns in data the way you saw patterns in rooms as a kid. You flag things. The flags go up the chain. Sometimes they result in action. Sometimes they disappear into filing cabinets that might as well be coffins. The moment everything changes is a Tuesday. 2:15 p.m. You're reviewing a file on a black budget program. Codename Meridian. It crosses your desk by accident. A misfiled document in a stack meant for another department. You should return it. You read it instead. Meridian is a covert weapons pipeline. American weapons routed through shell companies to a militia in East Africa that the United States publicly condemns. The militia has killed 4,000 civilians in 18 months. The weapons have American serial numbers. The funding traces back to a budget line that's been approved by people whose names you recognize. People you've briefed. People who sat across from you in rooms that don't exist and nodded while you talked about ethical boundaries of state power. The agency doesn't recruit with threats. It recruits with purpose. Every operative is a smart kid who read Sun Tzu too young and saw the world as a board and wanted to play. The product is meaning. The belief that you are one of the few people who sees the machinery behind the curtain and can pull the levers that matter. The price is the curtain itself. Because once you see behind it, you can't unsee it. And the moment you try to show someone else what's there, the machine turns around, and the levers you used to pull are now pointed at you. The price is a roof in a country you can't name, and a sunset the color of a mango, and a woman who calls you by the wrong name, and a mother who recites Frost over a payphone, and a filing cabinet in Virginia that holds the ghost of a man who couldn't look away. Somewhere right now, a smart kid on a military base is reading Sun Tzu on his father's shelf. He thinks it's about strategy. It is. He just doesn't know yet that the final chapter is about what the strategy costs. Nobody tells you that part. You have to live it. If this made you think, drop a comment. Subscribe for more. See you in the next one. You read the file 3 times. Each time the numbers get heavier. 4,000 civilians. American serial numbers. Approved funding. You close the file. Put it back in the stack. Walk to the bathroom. Look in the mirror. Same face. Same eyes. You look for something different, and there's nothing. A man who's discovered his government is arming the people it claims to oppose looks exactly like a man who had a normal Tuesday. You don't report it through channels. You know what happens to reports that go through channels. They get classified, reclassified, buried under review processes that take 6 years and conclude that the matter is outside the scope of investigation. You've seen it happen. You've been part of the system that makes it happen. The filing cabinets that might as well be coffins. You decide to go outside. You contact a journalist, not American, British. A woman named Catherine Wells, who works for a paper that doesn't answer to the same people your agency does. You meet in a hotel in Zurich, neutral ground. You give her the documents, not the originals, copies you made on a machine in a building that logs every print job, which means you had 4 minutes between the print and the log review to remove the record. You did it in 3. She looks at the documents. looks at you, asks why. You say, because 4,000 people are dead, and the weapons have our serial numbers, and the system that's supposed to prevent this is the system that approved it. She asks if you understand what will happen to you. You say yes. You're lying. You understand it theoretically, the way you understand a car crash before the impact. The physics makes sense. The experience doesn't. The story runs on a Thursday. Front page. 8 countries pick it up by Friday. By Saturday, your name is in a sealed indictment. Espionage Act, theft of classified materials, conspiracy, unauthorized disclosure. The charges carry 45 years. You're not at your apartment when they come for you. You left 6 hours before the story published. A bag. A passport under a name you built yourself, not agency issued. Personal. A cover identity you constructed on your own time using the same skills they taught you at the farm. The second skeleton. It takes you to Mexico City, then Sao Paulo, then Johannesburg, then a city you won't name, in a country you won't identify. Sullivan calls your mother. Your mother calls your sister. Your sister doesn't have your number. Nobody does. You watch the aftermath from a laptop in a rented room. The agency calls you a traitor. Congress holds hearings. Pundits argue about whether you're a hero or a criminal. Both sides use your photograph. The one from your employee badge. You're wearing a blue tie. You look like an accountant. That's the point. You always looked like the least interesting person in the room. That's the skill. That's always been the skill. You settle in a place you won't describe. Warm, quiet. You teach English at a small school. The students call you professor. You're not a professor. You're a man with a fake passport and a real education and 4 languages and the ability to construct a lie so complete it has a heartbeat. But you teach them grammar and literature, and one day a girl who's 16 asks you why Orwell wrote 1984. You say, because he understood that the most dangerous lie is the one told by the people you're supposed to trust. She writes it down. You watch her write it, and you think about Dr. Calloway's conference room, and the 6 students, and the basement, and the audition that started all of this. And you realize that every system recruits the same way. A room, a question, a feeling that you've been seen by someone who understands what you're for. Elena. That's not her real name. You meet her at a market. She sells fruit, mangoes, papayas, hands that are rough from work, the way your mother's students' hands were soft from youth. She asks where you're from. You say Canada. She doesn't believe you. She sells you mangoes anyway. You come back every Tuesday. After 2 months, she invites you for coffee. After 4 months, she shows you the scar on her arm from a factory accident. After 6 months, she falls asleep on your shoulder on a bus, and you sit perfectly still for 40 minutes because the weight of her head is the first thing that's felt real since Zurich. You know this can't be complete. Every relationship you'll ever have starts with a lie and has a ceiling built into it. She calls you by a name that isn't yours, and the name that isn't yours starts to feel more real than the one that is. And you don't know if that's healing or if that's the final skill the agency taught you. The ability to become someone else so completely that the original disappears. You sit on a roof one evening and watch the sun go down. The sky turns the color of a mango. Below you, the street fills with people going home. Motorcycles, children, a man carrying bread. The ordinary machinery of a world that doesn't know you're in it. You think about Hassan's mother and the kibbeh. You think about the accountant in Beirut who said yes because he owed the wrong people money. You think about Meridian and the 4,000 names you'll never learn. You think about your father's handshake in the parking lot at Georgetown. Don't trust anyone who tells you the system is fair. Use it anyway. You used it, then you broke it. Then it broke you. And now you're sitting on a roof, watching a sunset in a country you can't name, teaching English under a name you invented, loving a woman who doesn't know who you are. And the only thing you know for certain is that somewhere in Virginia, there's a filing cabinet with your real name on it. And inside that cabinet is everything you were and everything you did. And the system will keep that cabinet locked forever. Because the thing about systems is they don't punish you for being wrong. They punish you for being right out loud.